Hey guys, this is Justin at the Survivor Review, and I can't believe the day has finally come that I can talk about New Evil Dead. That's not a remake, but a continuation of the original movies with the man himself, Bruce Campbell. It's just so surreal. I've been waiting for this show forever, and I'm just so excited it finally started. Today we're going to be talking about the pilot episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is everything I wanted it to be. This was such a blast from start to finish. If you're an Evil Dead fan, you'll love this. The show does have some issues though. I had a few problems with the pilot, but for the most part this was a solid start that was just entertained me so much. The show is a great balance of the Army of Darkness humor and goofiness with the Evil Dead 2 horror and gore. Whereas it's still really funny, but it has some really good horror elements in it, and it's still pretty creepy. So if you didn't like Army of Darkness, you will like this show. Granted, it still retains some of that humor from the movie. Just be warned, because I know there's some people out there that don't like Army of Darkness, but this is more in line with the second film. This is really in line with Evil Dead 2. So if you like Evil Dead 2 and just wouldn't mind a bit more humor, this is for you, and it's just wonderful. Some of the flaws with the show, though, are there's CGI blood in it and gore at times, not always. There's a good amount of practical effects, and those practical stuff looks great. But there's some CGI that I wasn't expecting when I first started watching, so it kind of caught me off guard when all of a sudden a deadite gets the side of their head blown off, and it's this very obvious, cheap-looking CGI shot, and I was like, oh. And so some of the CGI just didn't work and kind of just stuck out like a sore thumb, and that was really disappointing. I didn't want to see CGI in Evil Dead, but what you gonna do? For the most part, there's really solid gore effects in the show, and it's still really gory, which is just great. There's a little too many homages to the original films throughout the episode, but I feel that's mostly because this is just the first episode and they're easing us back into this world, and I feel like as it progresses it'll grow on its own and become more of its own thing as it goes on. But that stuff came a little like you didn't have to do some of these, though some of them worked. I mean, it was just fun seeing Bruce Campbell hurt himself with a pot, just smashing it against his face. That was fine, that was just fun. But just some of those homages, I felt like you didn't need all of those. And the opening scene of the movie, when he goes to the bar and tries to pick up the girl, that scene felt kind of out of place in Evil Dead. I don't know, it didn't really feel necessary. I felt like they were just doing it because they're just like, hey, we can do whatever we want. We're on Stars, we can do whatever we want. And I just felt like you didn't have to do that. But aside from that, the rest of the show was just phenomenal. It was just a blast. It's just some of the most fun I've had watching an episode of a TV show ever. It's just so great. I love the way they explain how the Deadites came back. Yeah, it was a little rushed and kind of just thrown in there, but it's just the idea of it's hilarious. The fact that this whole show is happening because of one stupid mistake that Ash made. And that's pure Evil Dead right there. Just Ash being an idiot and causing even more destruction than he should have, and I love that. I just love how it's all Ash's fault because of one night he got high with a girl and tried to impress her with poetry, so he started reading out of the Book of the Dead. I was like, yep, perfect. I'm in. That was just so great. The casts are all really good. A lot of the characters, well, they're not the most interesting characters, but you still have 9 more episodes to develop that. Again, Bruce Campbell is just perfect as the lazy, self-centered character of Ash. This is pure Ash from Army of Darkness. So a complete buffoon. He's lazy. He doesn't want to own up to anything. When the Deadites come back, he's like, screw it, I'm out. And I love that. And then Pablo, his sidekick character, he's a lot of fun. I like him. I feel like he's going to grow and become a really cool character as the show progresses. I'm really interested to see how Lucy Lawless plays into this, because her character appears for one brief scene in the episode, but I know she ties into it more, and I really want to see how that develops. And then you have the cop character who, this subplot felt a little weird to me when I was watching the episode, but again, this is just a case of I have to see how it develops before I can really talk about it. But this cop who, at the beginning of the episode, they investigate this house, and there's being a deadite in there and ends up killing her partner, and then now she's investigating what happened and why that happened, because she doesn't know what a deadite is. And it felt a little weird because it's a really serious subplot, which doesn't really match with the goofy tone of the show. And I think it's just weird to me because I'm not used to Evil Dead having subplots. I'm used to it just being Bruce Campbell fights Deadites, so that was a little strange, but I want to see how her story converges with Ash's story. So I'm really intrigued. I just was a little put off guard by that. One of the things that worried me the most about the show is the fact that they don't have the rights to Army of Darkness. So they can't reference it, they can't use stuff from it, like they can't use S-marked. Now Ash works at the value stop, which kind of sucks, but I was really nervous that they were just gonna ignore Army of Darkness and act like it never happened. But no, sure they don't acknowledge it, but it easily could have happened. They don't contradict it in the slightest. There's a scene, it's a really well done flashback scene, where Ash tells Pablo about what happened to him in the previous movies, and he stops at the end of Evil Dead 2. But it worked. It felt like he was just like, I don't need to tell him about how I went back to medieval times and fought an army of skeletons. So it worked, and I like that. I like how it's still an Evil Dead 4. It's not like its own Evil Dead 3 where it contradicts the third movie. It's still a continuation of the trilogy, which is great. It just doesn't get to acknowledge the movie like we would want it to, but you know what? We got an Evil Dead TV show, and it's great, so I think we'll be okay. So overall, this episode it's a blast. It's a great blend of horror and comedy. It's really funny, though there are some jokes that fall flat. But overall, it's just a fun time, and it's so great to be back in this world and to have Ash back. And it all works. This episode was directed by Sam Raimi, which it shows because his style is all over this thing, and it's wonderful. I am a little nervous about the next episodes because he only directed the pilot, and I want to see if they retain that style and retain that energy that this first episode has. Because if it at least has the same energy of this first episode, it's going to be great. And speaking of the next episodes, I am going to be reviewing every episode after they air. I hope I can do that as consistently as I want to, but that's the plan. And I hope I can get Sam in on some of these, because Sam is a bigger Evil Dead fan than I am. So it really sucks that he hasn't seen the first episode yet, but hopefully down the line we can get him in on some of these videos, and so we can discuss it together. That'd be a lot more fun. Either way, Ash vs. Evil Dead. Great start. So happy to be back. I'm so happy this was good and it was just a ton of fun. If you're an Evil Dead fan, watch it. It's weekly Evil Dead. Can't go wrong with that. It's just so great. And that's about it for now. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.